gonna miss a couple guys.
Janice is going to call in.
Gavin,
Gavin, from what I read in his email, would indicate that he is offshore.
okay.
Okay. I would love to call this public hearing to order at 7:02. And we're live, Stephen?
Yes.
Okay. So to begin with, I would like to do a roll call of the council members. Position one is going to try and call in. She wasn't able to get coverage at the restaurant. Position two is Gavin?
Me.
You.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there he is.
I am present.
Okay. Position three?
Sorry, present.
Yes. Position four?
Here.
And position five is Gavin, who I believe is out of town. Would anybody like to be recognized as a visitor tonight? And have you signed in?
I'm a visitor, I have not signed in.
Okay. Anyone else want to be recognized as a visitor?
Yeah,
I'm a visitor, I have not been
Okay. If you want to do public speaking, there is a sign-up sheet for that.
yeah, Rachel, Mike Wines.
Thank you, Kai.
Put me down, Bob, I just said yes.
Where's this guy over here? Okay. Okay. So does anybody need to go over the kind of the rules of conduct for the public hearing to make comments? It is up on the counter. So basically, it's 3 minutes to talk. Okay. With that, has anybody signed up on our sheet? Nobody signed up, so after that, if there's anybody who would like an opportunity to speak to 3 minutes in regard to the garbage rate adjustment, please call out and we'll put you on the timer.
So is the sign up that you've got up there, I'm sorry, this is off something, that's for people who want to speak?
Yes. But no one's on there, so if you want to speak,
Okay.
you're first up. So
For
if you
the
want to step up.
garbage rate.
Yeah, so if you want to step up and to the podium, our beautiful podium you'll need to grab the microphone though, because otherwise we can't hear you.
No, I'm good on that side.
Okay. Do we have any comments with regard to the garbage rates tonight?
Yeah, nobody?
Nobody.
I guess, are you guys gonna present what it is?
There's a-
It's been posted. Have you seen this
Yeah,
information?
I'm aware of that.
Okay.
I didn't know if you guys were gonna talk about it or.
The purpose of this was to give people an opportunity to give us their feedback after reviewing it.
Can you maybe explain if the city were to still do this isn't, right, two-part, right, it's an increase, it's also a switch from direct bill from the city utilities to direct bill from Sunshine?
Maybe
Yeah.
to express how we got to that.
Yeah, so I was going to go through this during the regular meeting, but if you guys don't oppose,
No,
I can
I-
cover it right now. Okay. So it is two parts. The catalyst to this was looking at the budget through the course of the year and seeing that the garbage and solid waste was losing money to the tune of about $20,000 a year. So it had already been determined that we were going to have to raise the rates.
Which we haven't done since 18.
Okay, so the garbage rates had not been increased since 2018.
And that was not break even then.
Okay. So fast forward, we had actually come up with and unofficially kind of come to a conclusion, a rate structure that was relevant. Basically, Stephen came up with a formula that used a flat cost because regardless of the size of your item, you have to pull up in front. But then it basically said the size of your garbage container, cart, dumpster, whatever, is X number of gallons. And so it was going to be a flat charge and then X number of dollars per gallon, depending on which size you had. Then through the course of more discovery, we found out that Sunshine could, in fact, take over the billing themselves instead of running it through the city books. We asked for them what their rates would look like, and surprisingly, their rates were pretty close to what we were planning on increasing the rates to anyway.
Lower.
Yeah, their rates actually came in a little bit less, which was confusing to us, but I think what it boils down to is, and I have not confirmed this, so this is pure speculation, that they get maybe a little bit more favorable taxation on their business B&O tax than the city does. Because all things being equal, they came in under us, so we couldn't figure it out. So that's where we came to it. We were hoping to put this in place earlier this year. As it turned out, between contracts having to be reviewed and modified and a public hearing need to be done and the rates needing to be posted for at least 45 days before they're implemented, this would not go into effect. It's proposed to go into effect on April 1. As far as the billing, Sunshine taking over, the way they bill is they bill every 3 months. And if I'm wrong, I apologize, but from what I understand, they basically, when they send out a bill, it's for the month immediately prior, so the first month is already passed, and the projected 2 months coming. So the billing would go through them. They admittedly have many more mechanisms than we do for collecting money. So they can take, obviously, cash, but they can take card, they can take it over the phone, they can take it through the internet. So they've got way more payment options available to them than the city does. So at the end of the day, we have basically less money flowing through our books. And we're transferring it to them, and I think, quite honestly, between the rates being a little bit less and the ease of payment makes it a little bit easier for the community to do business, at least with regard to the garbage. That's my summary anyway. If you guys want to add anything to it?
No, pretty much stated. Like I said, the main key points were is that we haven't been keeping up with the increases with the county and Sunshine. They've been consistently raising it, and we have not, at least from 18. And they continue to go up as we speak. Okay, so it's the fairest proposal.
Are they tied to consumer price index or what are they using?
Well, Sunshine did mention that. They did, that was one of their reasons, but it seems to be if they raise their rates, the county, I mean, they go back and forth. And I have a bone to contend, with later in the meeting, something I read in the paper, it doesn't mesh, I'd have to read the paper again, but why we agreed on a price here, and then all of a sudden it's another 50 cents or 75 cents more. But nevertheless, we did do our due diligence, and we checked other counties and stuff, and it was going to cost considerably higher. And I called Odessa and Reardon. I don't know if you guys or anybody's familiar with Reardon, but they took one heck of a utility, $66, in fact, higher.
Per month.
Per month, yes. No, just going to be that much higher. so much more for, and I don't recall, it's in the paper, it's published in the Record Times, but so much for garbage, and I think they had sewer, went up, and water. A grand total of 66, I think, and some change, or just
Just what I
$66
read.
more.
Yeah.
So I know currently, a year ago, at least a year and a half ago at least, that Odessa, apples and apples, and I'll just throw out, I was comparing the 96-gallon tote. Odessa was charging $44 or $46, somewhere around 40-something, and we were still at 22. So it's not like, we don't want to give people the idea that we're just doing this to make money. I mean,
Well, and the other part of our due
Yes.
diligence is that, I think you contacted 2 other companies,
yes,
and I contacted 1 other company, so I think and then I think actually Jess had another one. And I think 2 of them turned us down outright, and then 2 of them gave us numbers that were higher than Sunshine. So we've really, I think, beat all the bushes there are to beat with this, and a lot of credit to David. He did a lot of the work on that due diligence.
So, finally.
Right.
Be living in 2018.
and and personally, on a personal note, until the day comes, I mean, we could get our own garbage truck and do it probably cheaper, but until you weigh the garbage, you weigh yours, so forth and so on, and get an accurate count, that's the only way you're going to get a handle on it and actually pay for what you're doing. And I think it'd be cheaper, in the long run. Yes, but they do have that technology out there, but they don't want to get into it because it's more money to gear up for that.
I think you said it was $80,000.
Yeah, so this is the lesser of the, well, it's less painful than the alternatives right now. And I don't think Harrington, although it'd be nice to have our own garbage system, but I don't think we could pull the people in to do that. Can't afford that.
Well, I appreciate all the changes you guys have done, obviously, doing the best you can. Well, thank you so much.
Well, appreciate that, and we enjoy the public input, immensely.
Yep.
So does this absolve then the city from being, well, the utility bill that we'll get will be lower, obviously, right? Because it won't have the garbage in it anymore.
From the city, yes.
In the utility tax. But then from the city's perspective, it absolves the city from that 20,000 in the hole every year, or whatever that number is, the negative number.
Yeah.
And then you guys can then obviously use those funds for other services.
Exactly. It'll help. We have a lot, we have a lot to do in the town. I mean, big budget, there's a lot to be done. So whatever we can do to reasonably cut our overhead expenses, I would rather do that any day over than the obvious alternative, which is to increase other utility rates, so.
Because if you kept it and you still increased it, it would still be a little bit maybe higher than this. But the city's still gonna be still negative at some number.
Well, we'd be
That's not
more,
gonna- Your increase isn't gonna balance the city, the garbage fund, the negative garbage.
That's
fund
what we
balance.
were shooting for. So I came up with some numbers and David came up with some numbers. I think
They come
David's
pretty
were
close.
a little bit lower than mine, but they were within, 5%, something like that.
Yeah, 1-2%, really,
And then,
real close.
yeah, and then Sunshine's were under both of us. So it was still a little bit up in the air exactly what our numbers would have been. But I don't think any of us, unless it's B&O tax, I don't think any of us figured out how they were able to do it for cheaper.
that's the only
Yeah.
thing I can think of.
I don't know, but to be totally transparent, in those figures too, you gotta realize the formulas that I come up with, and I think Stephen to some degree as well, took into account a little bit of a buffer zone, because this is life, and there is some delinquency associated with payment of bills. So that didn't help matters either. So,
One thing I will make clear, the recycling bin and the green waste bin, when the season is appropriate, will still be here. So,
I
And,
suppose
and
as far as the delinquency stands,
no,
it goes, Sunshine's going to be a lot less.
they will. And just so everyone knows, just because Sunshine is taking over, or is proposed to take over, is not eliminating historically what has already happened.
We still have to catch up,
We still have to catch up. We still have, I mean, by law, we still have to catch up.
which we're working on diligently,
Yep.
right? And there is some cooperation in that matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it might be worth noting that while this won't be 20 grand worth, the nature of garbage in the city will still be in the whole sum, in that the green waste bin and the cardboard that we're going to still be paying for that out of pocket for the city. And there's no mechanism, like we aren't pricing in money into the Sunshine bill so that they pay us the amount that we need to pay the county for the green waste bin. That's just out of pocket. And I can't speak for the council, but it kind of feels like we're comfortable with that for this year. Anyways, I think for myself, we've made a great stride in eliminating the vast majority of that deficit. It would be nice to have the problem of looking at only a smaller portion of what do we do with that in the future.
It seems to benefit the community.
Yes.
It seems a lot of people
A
are,
lot of
Use it.
municipalities are having, that use Sunshine, and probably every garbage utility, are having them pad the bill, so to speak, by another 1 or 2%. And the purpose of that is to come back into the city to pay for excessive wear and tear for the trucks running down the street and all the rest of it. Hypothetically, it's supposed to go into a reserve. The consensus was, the rates are going up, let's just let it go.
Mhm.
Just leave it at that. City's not getting anything, well, the benefit out of it is we're not billing for garbage. And hypothetically, our B&O taxes will go down as a result, because it's that.
Should.
Yeah, well, we don't. We still have streets that are getting beat up. I'm sure some of you live on those streets that you would like to see fixed, and so would we. So-
one of their, it's fuel and labor.
And tipping fees.
And then, yeah, tipping
And,
fees.
and if you look
Seems
on the
like that
sheet, there was a
bit.
difference between the two, these two numbers that they gave us. It's because after we published this meeting, I got the adjustment because Lincoln County raised their rates by 4%.
Yes.
So tipping fees, by the way, are the weight. That's how much garbage is going out, and they increased those rates by 4% at the county. So that's just passing on. Yeah. So,
And that's the part I had an issue with, is because I believe in an earlier paper article, the county laid it on Sunshine, that they're raising rates because of that, and now I hear it looks like it's just the opposite. We'll have to determine that. I mean,
Well,
I could have read that wrong, so I just want to clarify that.
yeah, go ahead, Tim.
Are garbage haulers union people?
I couldn't say one way or the other.
Don't know.
Yeah.
Probably waste management would be.
Yeah, Justin.
Is there gonna be, I don't know if it's on the books now officially, but I think the consensus is that the city requires dwellings to have garbage service, right?
Any place that has water and sewer from the city. So
Okay, so that's on the book, so is that's still gonna be a requirement?
Yeah, yeah, it is. And we admittedly have not necessarily ironed out with Sunshine how that's going to work.
They'll let you know who they're not billing,
Yeah,
because they decide not to sign up for service.
yeah.
But I think there's
I think there's an ordinance that says, and I believe I read it, that says categorically, you're required to have garbage service.
And their contract with us is dependent upon that. Like, they're doing this with the understanding that they have our backing. So,
My concern as a citizen is just that people are not gonna start, not gonna put up with this. And then we're gonna have even more power to back in than what it is in some areas.
Well-
And I've been in your guys' chair, so I know the ordinance stuff is a challenge, and David's worked on it for years, and even everybody has. I just think that that's something that we have to, I'm not, either way, it is what it is, but just to make sure that that doesn't, I guess it absolves the city on one level of not having to deal with it, but we still might have to deal with it.
Those are all good points, and I mean, you bring up good points. And it's something that we, as a council, we pondered that back and forth tremendously, many meetings. And in the grand scheme of things, okay, if somebody doesn't do it, what are they gonna do with their garbage? Are they gonna go around at night and fill other people's dumpsters up? And then, we chuckled over a little bit, because yes, they did go up, but as you see, there's a variance. I don't know if you guys have seen the different prices. I don't know what everybody in here has, 96, 65s, or 32s. But it's kind of a trial. We'll see how many people, if any, migrate to a smaller receptacle. And we'll just see in a year's time how that, all the sifts out.
Yeah.
Is there gonna be a charge to change your receptacle? If it has carpet placement on the bottom, it's $105.
That's if,
It's lost or damaged. But so if you have a 90 gallon now and wanna go to 65.
yeah, I was gonna build off that, exactly that. If you've got any of these and you wanna change, just because you started here, you're not obligated to stay there for the rest of the year. You can change these as needed. I mean, if it was every month, we might have some conversations about fixing that. But the intent is that if you've got a dumpster right now because it was convenient and why not?
It's cheap.
It was cheap, you might find yourself, and I know that there's one person in town that has already explored and taken that option to reduce the size of their container. So,
I'm getting feedback from those on the YouTube stream saying they can't hear the people in the audience. So there are those who would be interested in the microphone being closer.
unless, any other,
I want to know, I have not the smallest barrel right now. How, do you guys know, like, is it 2 bags fit in the small one, or how? I don't know how the difference is between the smallest one and the medium.
okay. The question is physically what size is the difference between the medium and the
What fits in
smallest?
small?
Well, those kitchen bags you get at Costco, right?
32
That's
gallons?
15 gallons.
Yep.
For the small ones, a leaf bag, like a black bag, is like 30 gallons, right? Roughly.
Yeah, I think something like that.
So, 2 kitchen garbage bags from Costco,
Will fit in the small
yes,
one. Okay.
roughly.
And if you jump on it, probably 3 or 4.
Okay, and I want to know if, when this happens, it's going to happen April 1st.
That's the target.
That's the target time.
Okay. And are they going to call us and talk to us about that? I mean, how we bill, and are they going to call us and talk to us?
One of the other advantages of having the next month and a half is to build out all of those, how to communicate with who, when, where.
Okay.
So, yeah, we're gonna get the word out, and it's not just gonna be social media. I would say, hopefully, by the time your next utility bill goes out, I'll have something to write on the back of it.
Terrific. Okay. Thank you for
Mhm.
all of you.
Connie, I've got a 96 gallon and it holds at least 4 of those
Kitchen
Costco
bags.
bags and then a little bit left over.
Okay. Thank you.
Typically, the representatives from Sunshine, here a couple of years ago, going back and forth, they figure a 90, I call them 96s. I mean,
I know
the
that-
bigger ones we
Yeah.
have. Okay, they figure on average about 70 pounds is what people have been putting in. Now granted, people can go over that or under it. I'd probably go under, so.
And it's really easy to forget about the impacts of cardboard in there. You can, I mean, if you put a box in the bottom, some boxes can hold up, a good foot off the bottom and nothing will be filling that. So if you're good about getting your cardboards into the recycle, that's going to make your garbage can go a lot farther.
Thank you.
I'm a little confused on the bill. I'm sure it's equitable. I just can't, you get billed every month? Is it going to be every 2 months, every 3 months?
3 months.
You're being charged every month, but they will be billing you quarterly.
I'm with you. I mean,
A little
kind of like,
looking back and looking forward.
Yeah, so, and I've not seen one of their bills, but the way they described it, I would assume you see what your February bill was, your And hopefully it's the same, but maybe somebody added a bag in March and it's gonna be, it's
We
gonna
can do
show
that.
that.
It's gotta be done, right? Pull it out.
Well, and I don't know, it might seem trivial, but probably one of the advantages, and I'm sure, we're not speaking out of turn, is you'll be able to pay it by debit or credit
Yes.
cards as well.
They confirmed that, and they also have an online portal.
Okay.
I don't think we asked if they don't charge a fee for the credit card.
That I don't know.
I don't think we asked that.
So they can take it out of your account if you want them to do that or not?
I believe they can. I believe they have, if, they're kind of like insurance companies. If you got money to spend, they'll find a way to collect it.
Oh, okay.
What about folks that only dump once a month? I have a 90 gallon tank on the land. I'm a single man. No other family there. I only dump once a month.
Can you get by with a smaller, how big's your receptacle, Tim?
Said 96.
90 gallon, okay.
I believe that's the biggest.
Yes, it
garbage
is.
can that city of Barrington offers.
Well, I think probably the only thing the city could recommend to somebody once a month, I know what I would do, I'd go down to the smallest receptacle. If I did not need that big 90 gallon,
Well, what I'm getting at is I get charged every week to dump my 90 gallon can, and I only dump it once a month.
They're not going to be able to separate that out.
Oh,
And
They're
I mean,
not.
if you look at our existing rates.
well, if they're gonna bill as a separate entity, why not bill me for what usage I do?
If you get the smaller can, you probably do.
It's the same, it's exactly the reason why we went down this path, is because people had containers that they may or may not have been using all of. And what we're encouraging them is, because as you can see in the Harrington rate column, if you've looked at it, it wasn't
You're not
balanced.
thinking that much, Mr.
well, right now, there's no, Mr. Campbell, I mean, it's not understand, it's not us that are trying to do this. This is the animal we have to play with. I don't agree with it. I think a person should be charged, just like you're saying. Like when I call them up and you should be charged when they dump it. But they don't play that game. It's all or nothing, and, you know, unfortunately, we just have to all take it in the hind end like everything else. Is it right? No, but I don't agree with that either, you know. I think you should be paying for what you put in there and how much it weighs. That's the fair way, but nobody seems to want to do that.
It's actually cheaper. You said take the small, you went from the largest today to the smallest.
Mhm.
You would save $4, in this instance, would be a $4 a month savings. You could still dump every week then. You're actually saving $4
Yeah.
by doing that, so.
And so everybody knows too, you think you want a penny pinch here, dollar pinch, whatever, and you figure go to the small one, but golly, you know, my family of 5 here, we need 2 90s, and they'll stack up garbage around it. You're gonna be charged more, they're gonna charge you for those extra bags out there. So keep that in mind as well. And that's one of the challenges we looked at. People, higher rates, they're gonna go, well, I can get by with the smaller one, and then just stack crap all over it, and, you know, and that's gonna tick I mean, you're gonna get honked doing that. Not from us, from the company.
Well, actually, the 2250 or whatever it is, $125 a month,
Yeah.
is reasonable. So is the water, the sewer is
I agree.
like
That was set in stone
in
before.
my opinion.
That's a different public hearing, Ken.
That's called a lynch mob. No, so,
Stay tuned for next month.
those are all good questions. And, but we're kind of all in it together. No one is getting, you know, sometimes they haven't picked mine up, let's say. They had a substitute driver here
Yeah.
last fall or this winter,
Within the last month.
and they didn't pick it up, but it wasn't full, didn't need it, but I'm still paying for it. so.
And believe me, I think we should be more diligent on that in the future.
And it's kind of, look at it this way, it's kind of like, you brought it up, insurance. You spend a gob of money on that, and you never use some of that either, so.
Does the
So-
city, does the city's receptacles now, there's several around the city, is the city gonna be charged?
Yes.
You do have some.
Again, that was another thing, we could have just asked them to absorb that into their billing, and we decided, nope, we're gonna be as responsible as everyone else needs to be. So,
And so we're gonna, as a city, have to be downsizing or eliminating containers because we're not letting ourselves not feel the pain of that cost and then having you guys bear it. It's gonna be on us to have to pay for our own garbage containers.
yeah. So the habit of having garbage cans out all the time for motorhomes to drive through town and dump all their weekend refuse is gonna end. However, other events like the car show,
Fall
the Vintage
Fest.
Country Fair, Fall
Yeah,
Fest,
all that will have.
in my opinion, now that I have some control over it, we probably put out even more receptacles because I saw them all getting used and filled. So we'll make sure that that is not a problem.
I've noticed up at the big city forest, that there's no, garbage containers up there anymore.
Yes,
And in fact, restrooms are closed down also.
yes.
Because,
Welcome
Uh,
to Grand.
Well,
They're broken.
the garbage was
abused.
abused.
Mhm.
And it had been, and somebody called somebody out on it, or told them it wasn't, and there was almost an incident that would have resulted in law enforcement appearing. Fortunately, it got diffused. And I think that was the final straw. And the person that caused the problem wasn't even from here. It was from Tri-Cities passing through, dumping the better part of a pickup truck into the garbage
So
receptacle.
we suffer the military ethic of one man screws up, we all do push.
Well, I'd like to, that was one incident, but I will say that was probably the final straw. This has been a problem. You guys have been through there during the fall and the spring, and there was garbage all over the place. They tried cutting a hole in the top of the lid so that we could restrict how much was going in, and that didn't even seem to fix the problem.
They
So-
just used a bigger hammer.
Yeah. The restrooms up there, it's cold, and they freeze, and that's something that we're gonna address and try to see that it doesn't happen, but.
Mr. Mayor, $65,000 were paid for those new bathrooms 10 years ago. They're heated, they were top of the line.
The door was left open.
The door blew, no, it wasn't left open, it blew open.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
So,
So one vandal screws up and the rest of society has to pay?
Another
no,
public hearing.
yeah. Believe it or not,
Unbelievable.
it's
Well, let me,
long,
go ahead. You have a lot of ideas, but what would be your solution to it?
No, it's not an idea, it's a fact.
Well, I mean, what's your solution to it? I mean, we're here to sound off
Well,
ideas. We want to hear from
I'm
you if
just
you have
a
something better,
citizen of the town.
right?
You folks run the show.
I mean, if I understand,
Okay, so get the job done.
Mr. Campoff, by shutting those down and turning the water off is getting the job done. It's eliminating thousands
Well,
of
so in other
dollars.
words, the citizens of Lincoln County, of Harrington, and all our tourists, fishermen, truckers, everybody suffers. Oh, is that the solution?
well, that's going to be at least a $3,000 repair up there.
I don't think anyone's talked about closing them permanently.
No, they're not
There's
closed
an
permanently.
intent that the bathrooms are going to be reopened, but we can take that as a vote of interest that our city taxes and rates should go to pay for such things.
In answer to my friend here, I go to a town, I don't expect them to give me a free toilet.
No.
So I think that's, when I first moved here, I went, wow, I mean, this little town, toilet.
Well, the Lions Club put a lot of time and effort into that. Plus, the local farmers put a lot of time and effort into that on expenditures.
Yes, but,
I don't think we have a right to shut that down. That's not correct.
well, at this point, there's nothing to go in. And That's the fact. So we're not going to have a free-for-all in there.
We are a small local community.
Yes.
We'd be able to take care of our own business.
Mr. Capel, I pose this question to you. It is definitely not a I-90 Lush Dot
Yeah,
restaurant.
we're not an I-90
Okay.
truck stop, I-84, whatever.
But it is a convenience. What do you see going forward? Do you think the taxpayers, how do we fund that if we want to continue this? Do you have an idea how we should go about doing that?
Well, I think you should go talk to the Lions Club. Those people have a lot to do with that. That's it.
I can't speak to the Lions Club because I'm not a Lions and I don't know what they do and don't do.
It was
but-
expressed at the last meeting of similar, sentiment similar to yours, that they do not want to see it closed permanently. And I mentioned to them that that's not the intent of the council that I've heard.
No.
Well, you,
So-
sir, have advocated in the past to close that restaurant.
During inclement weather. or
During,
cold.
in two cases, in inclement weather, and I've also made the argument that I think that if there is a bathroom to stay open, I think it makes more sense for it to be a downtown bathroom. I do not recall having advocated that we should close all public bathrooms.
Correct.
It's not unheard of to see the rest of it.
So I want to get back on track.
Sorry for the
That's,
deviation.
that's okay. No, it's been a question that needed to be talked about, but we need to push on. So are there any more comments or questions on the garbage? Okay. I am going to, I believe, yeah, I will close the public hearing at this point. 7:38.
Oh, that's hot. I have another subject. That's
We're
why
having a
it's like-
we're having a council meeting
Oh, I see.
right now.
And to that point, as we are about to open our regular meeting, can I suggest that we would have a
Question answers.
question, have our public comment, or at least a public comment section after we deal with local tells business? Because we have a full agenda of things after that, and I'd hate for a person to have to stay all the way to what the end of that
Yeah.
might be, just to say something on a different topic.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I concur. Chris, good with that?
I'm good with that.
Okay. Let's call the public meeting, or the regular council meeting then, to order at 7:39. All right. As mentioned, we are going to shift our agenda a little bit and put public comments on the
I think
top of our...
local tell is already on the.
Oh, I'm
agenda,
sorry.
so
I'm sorry.
At least
Yes.
that's my vote.
Yes.
But-
Local talk. Bob? Yeah, would you mind grabbing the mic?
Thank you.
Hi, Bob Iverson from Localtel. I submitted a renewal, basically a renewal lease to the city for review and conversation, and I just wanted to be here in case there was questions from the council referring to that document, and hopefully people were able to see that or read that ahead of time. But it's been, I guess I could sum up real quick, that it's something that we've been doing in the past, and it's kind of a
The lease-
update
the lease-
of,
Yes, so,
an update of refreshing what we've had in the past and bringing it up to current standards.
so it was received, it's gone to the attorney. There's going to be some adjustments that we'll need to review and talk and work through. But,
Excellent. No problem.
Structurally, I didn't see any logic with the key points that you were trying to achieve.
Yep.
So,
I just did want to come in person in case there was anything, that's kind of the reason I wanted to show up and make sure if you had any questions that
absolutely.
That I
Okay,
could
you're
be-
online.
have answer to that, so.
Okay, Janice just called in at 7:41. All right.
So for the tower lease, we, Herman's here from our manager, our local manager, and he wanted to just talk about the fiber project just for a short minute. just to give you any updates on that also.
Okay?
Steve, thanks for moving us up to the beginning of the agenda. I've got to drive back to Moses tonight, so thank you. This is just a quick hello. This is who we are. Harrington's been very active in the new fiber build-out project, and we're happy about that. We're excited about that. There's a lot of relationships that are already in existence. And one of the criticisms, which I thought was legitimate, was that the only person they've ever seen is Bob. Bob was literally born here, and is a great asset to what we're doing and to local tel and to this town and Lincoln County. But I think there was a legitimate question: is there anyone else if Bob dies, or if I fire him? So that's what I'm here tonight to. Yeah, straight to the point. Local Tel is truly a local company. The owner, founder, president was born in Soap Lake, and then started Local Tel 40 years ago in Wenatchee. That is now where it's headquartered. 6 years ago, we opened an office in Moses Lake to serve Grant County, and about 3 years ago, we merged with Odessa office and bought that, took it over. We leased a nice space right on Main Street, and a year ago we bought that building. So Local Tel literally owns a building and office in Lincoln County. We have technicians that live in Lincoln County. We have a customer service rep that lives in Odessa. We've got 26 staff in Moses. So we feel like we are very much invested, very committed to Lincoln County. The project itself, I don't know how much details you know, but each municipality has its own co-location where our equipment will be. The equipment going into that is not cheap. So, and obviously, in the long run, that'll be a return on our investment. But between a physical office in Odessa that we own, we're not leasing, we're committed. Putting the equipment in, Bob's expertise. At the end of the day, if everything goes completely wrong, I am responsible for Lincoln County as well as Grant County. I'm not planning on going anywhere. So I think that's just my quick little spiel. We're here, we're committed. There is a very large company behind Bob. Bob and I it's a real interesting thing. I'll just let you in on some dirty little secrets. Bob built his business from almost nothing to a network of, quite impressive network of towers. Approached Local Tel to buy him, but wanted to stay on as an employee. I came in green as anything and knew that this owner was going to go from owner to employee in one day, and I was scared out of my mind. It's been a great relationship. Bob and I have worked well together. We have fun together. We work hard together. I've had scrapes with a lot of other managers, but I've never really had a scrape with Bob. So that's been a super positive thing, and we're grateful for what he built, and that now we're taking it to the next level. Technology changes, fiber's here, and that's quite a group effort from the Lincoln County EDC to a lot of different people that contributed to make this happen. It's the new technology, it's the future, it's finally we're taking that step. So that's my quick little thing. If anybody has any questions on how this works, or any questions at all, be happy to entertain those. If not, I will thank you for my time and leave some flyers and be on my way.
I have a couple quick things. So I see under section 5, rent, A, supply the lessor with 6 internet connections. Have we enumerated what those 6 are?
I believe they were kind of left open, so
Your
if there was
discretion.
some variances.
Okay, because we've got
Yeah.
we've got the library, we've got this property, we've got the city shop, we've got the wastewater treatment, which is actually Apicolo.
Yeah.
So that's 4.
Memorial Hall.
Well, and Memorial Hall is actually outlined in subsection B, so I don't know if that was the intent for that to be one of the 6, but actually that's a separate list.
Oh, yeah.
Because I think actually, to the point about the bathrooms, one of the things I was going to bring up with you guys, and I think it looks like we have room in our 6, but if it's possible to get internet to the park, one of the things that could help us keep the bathrooms open longer is if we could put a security camera there.
Yeah. And so I purposefully wrote the lease to be not specific,
Okay.
but it allows the city the flexibility to choose those locations.
Okay.
And so I
appreciate
do that.
I think 6 is very generous,
Yeah.
And I don't know if there is any open question about whether subsections A and B there are representing a 7th in the form of a memorial hall. That's a little different in that the 6 that are being outlined are like for the city's exclusive use. The memorial hall is a separate public good. And to that point, we talked about whether Local-Tel or us is going to put a mesh system in there to make sure that the coverage is better. But one of the things that I would, and at this point I'm just speaking as one voice on the council, I think that we should have some kind of a plaque in the memorial hall that, one, outlines that there's Wi-Fi here, because I've been at a number of events where people are like, well, I have spotty cell connection. I'm like, use the Wi-Fi. Like, there's Wi-Fi here? Part of that is that the Wi-Fi hotspot is named Spectrum Online Hotspot, and so, like, nobody knows that it has anything to do with the memorial hall or Local-Tel. Even though it's an open network, a lot of people don't try it. So that's one thing, is to call it out. And two, for my vote, I think considering how good Local-Tel has been to the city, I think a provided by Local-Tel is not inappropriate. But I think regardless of whether it has that or not, I think we should have a plaque there.
And Local-Tel is actually willing to supply that type of stuff. So we have some plaques that we've done in other towns and libraries, and it's just simple, like little Wi-Fi provided by Local-Tel. You know what I mean? Like, public, you know what I mean? It kind of has a little thing. I will clarify that in the writing of that lease, because we will be making some modifications that will clarify that if we do the 6 and Memorial Hall, make sure it's really clear in there that those are clarified, for the numbers.
It's worthy to note that, to my awareness, no other internet provider that's going to be here in the future has currently come to any agreement to provide a free or reduced rate to any public entity. So what Local-Tel has done and is looking to continue to do is thus far still very unique to the benefit to Harrington and its citizens.
And we do this to a lot of local towns, so, Odessa, Wilbur, we have these arrangements. We find them very mutual beneficial to the community and to Local-Tel. I think it's a mutually beneficial arrangement, and it's worked well for quite a long time. And I thank you guys for continuing to let us do it. I mean, it's been working well for us also.
Okay, any other questions?
I'm good. Thank you.
Good.
I got one more question, and I don't, if this is an approval thing for the council, I was wanting to know, and I'm assuming other ISPs may also want to have, information brochures available for the public to be able to come in and pick up at City Hall. So I just wanted to ask or see how that,
Yeah, please leave them, we'll discuss it.
I mean, I feel as a Local-Tel, as a company, I understand that all ISPs should, if it's, it's an even playing field. It's not a.
As long as none of them are given any advantage positionally or visibility-wise, I think fine by me. Yeah.
And I'll just leave them with you guys, and you guys can go over that later. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Safe trip back home.
Thank you.
Guys, drive safe.
Stay warm, Connie.
We do have public comment coming, if she wanted to, maybe she's done.
Maybe she had a different question.
Good night, Bob.
Thank you for being here.
You're the lone man now?
Any public comments?
In the past, I brought up the subject with the prior administration.
Yes.
About the possibility, and I think it's well served to think about this seriously, being able to access water here from our ground reservoir that's below the city, to be able to access that manually by using like a hand pump or have one of our wells. I'm not even sure. I don't even know how many wells do we have here. Is it 2 or?
2.
Yeah.
Well, and a failed third.
Well, okay, that work. To be able to manually be able to pump water out of the ground, because I sound like some kind of let's put it this way. Scary stuff is getting more and more in the news, and I think we're all becoming more and more aware that we're getting more vulnerable by the day, by what's going on south of us on the border, all of that. And that you can only go 3 days without water, and unfortunately we don't really have a creek running through this town. And it's no place to get water. And,
Ironically, we do, but.
well, yeah,
but
okay.
It's not year-round.
Yeah. And I think my friend Roland will appreciate the fact that he doesn't have one any longer.
No, he does not. He does not.
I
have-
called him and told him, he's, oh, great.
No more riverfront property for Roland.
But in spite of that, I just wanted the council to think, and I would be able to kick in some money to even help fray the expense of it, to be able to have something, and I don't know how it's situated, with the plumbing and all that, to run a little spur off of it or whatever and prove that it worked and, pump water. It'd be inconvenient as heck, but it's a whole lot more inconvenient if you can't drive, you can't do this, and it's a matter of walking a few blocks and getting some water, just like the people used to go to the city well. It's, I sound like an alarmist, but I think if it's not real expensive, it's worth considering.
So unless you guys have something I can field this.
I'm not, I don't have enough information to probably comment on this as far as legalities and rules or anything like that. So at this time, I'll just listen.
Okay.
I mean, everybody knows.
Oh, excuse me, Mayor. That does remind me that I was talking to Mark Stedman, a friend of mine, and he was out of town. Oh, he lives, over on the coast. He's told me that the county actually has a generator that evidently is mobile, so I'm assuming it's on a trailer instead of tying up a truck, that they're committed to going and plugging into the various municipalities in Lincoln County and pumping water up into their reservoirs if it comes to that. And that's great, but if we get hit with something that's a little more serious, then everything kind of goes down the tube. And I don't have to tell you all, read the news, what those kind of things could be. That wouldn't be a viable option, but it is a possibility.
Certainly. So, in the past month or so, I've met with some of the members of the county. They are currently, and they're required to do this, but it's now. So there is a revision of the emergency plan countywide being done. And they do come into each town and review the vulnerabilities and the needs and what have you. So that's something that I'll make sure is addressed. As it's been well said, we have a water system plan that is coming online. Should be done by the end of June. I meet with the engineer twice a week or twice a month. I can bring that up that we want to make sure that that is an option built into their plan. Thirdly, I had a meeting in the past couple of weeks with Avista, who will be working with us to find out, because of some of the situations that you do are just natural disasters and what have you, if we are cut off from electricity, their biggest focus obviously right now is high winds and wildfires, which they will not hesitate to turn off the power if the lines are vulnerable to being knocked down. But in the process of doing that, they're identifying their vulnerable locations to make sure that things like the wells are not, they'll work with us to make sure that they know where it's at and we're going to deal with it. So of all the times, those type of things are coming up with it. And it could be a manual well, it could be a gas-powered pump. As a matter of fact, we just got one of our gas-powered pumps in the shop rebuilt and going again, so we can pump water out of the stream if need be. So,
Of course, that's, those things, gas, electricity are fragile.
right.
Muscle power, did it for a long time. And it sounds like, well, we're going backwards. Yeah, we could go farther backwards too, real fast.
Yeah.
If something happened in the sky.
So, but the point being is it's well taken, and there's a lot of different focuses on all the kinds of things that you're talking about. Water is just one of them, but obviously it's one of the key ones. So,
Yeah, water and if something happens, a major disaster happens, first a disaster takes lives, and the second thing takes lives is sanitation.
yeah.
Disease takes over, and that's the big killer. But I appreciate, Mayor, for your input.
One quick second, Mike. So are we still running off of well number 2?
3, yes.
3, okay. So there's just a couple things I want to mention with this. One is that, so what was it, a month, 2 months ago now that we switched over?
Just
December.
Month, okay. We were getting some cloudiness in the water, which was aeration in it, so we had to switch over from one well to the other, and we haven't gone back. There are some open questions of what we're going to have to do to put that other well back in service. As a part of that, that could involve mechanical things, including pulling the pump and this, that, and the other thing. So we might be looking to have to spend money on mechanical things anyways. I'll be honest to say, as far as my understanding of a well, and I don't claim to be an expert on all that stuff, but the rating that we have to make sure that that is capped properly and everything, we would have a manual pump might have more complications with it than we could do, but that'll be the time to explore it, I guess, is the good news I'm giving you here, is that it will be coming to a head that if we pull it out, we're going to have a question of do we put it back in the same way and fixed, or do we make any changes during that time? To that end, one thing I've mentioned to Joe regarding this is that a thought that I can get behind is we should have transfer switches on our pumps. Because if a generator was to be available to come in, if a Vista came in because the power lines are down and that kind of stuff, we should have a transfer switch so that that generator can plug in easily and not have to be rewired in. Because that's something that I think it's smart to make ourselves available. If someone can come in with the diesel and the generator, we should be able to plug in and go and not have other things available with it.
Well, I'll just say the word, talk about EMPs.
Yeah,
Sure.
Then none of that stuff is used.
electromagnetic
They don't know.
pulse.
Yeah, I get you, but I'm saying as far as like a crawl, walk, run, what we can get maybe easier and can take care of some other scenarios is something to make sure that if someone can bring us a generator, that we can use it. It doesn't take care of the EMP scenario, but it does
That's worst
take.
case, and, but you know what, things have happened in this country in the last 2 or 3 years that you didn't believe ever.
Right.
It's starting to open my mind.
Well,
A lot of it.
And two, keep in mind, I mean, on a simplistic measure, the design of the water tower and the design in a lot of cities, towns throughout the country here, why they're so high up, usually on a hill, it goes back to old technology, old timers. House down in the draw, cistern up there. So with that full, you will still be able to gravity a lot of water out of that. I think
Sure.
so.
Is there a level that it's always kept at, or can it be raised, or is there a problem with it?
It's kept full.
Yeah.
Yes, it's 115,000.
Of course, if it happened in the summer, I don't know.
Well, they're on their own different well.
No, they're on a completely different
Oh, they
well.
are?
They
Yeah.
take up 0 gallons.
Well, the biggest users of water would be the school.
Except for the clubhouse. When you drink the water at the clubhouse, that is the city's well.
Right. Rocky Mountain water. School, fertilizer industry, and maybe the elevators possibly a little. Those would be the biggest users.
Lawn.
But we ran into a lot of that when we had our line, that emergency line breakage under the, and when you get into a situation like that, stuff's going to be rationed, people, and I think we can all live without watering the lawns for a few days or whatever, but But the fortunate thing is people that live below the tracks or down from that are going to get the pressure. The people that aren't going to get it, that might be dinged, are the people that live up next to the water tower. They'll get some, but not much. So,
So
Well, I'm glad you guys.
I'll look
I
at it.
wasn't even saying, I don't want you to think something that I'm not saying. It's just to have possibly, you've got all rig hours, having something set up, it's got a cap on the side, and you're not using it, it's just there. It's also been made a piece to a handheld that's not installed.
Yeah.
If everything goes belly up, all those people, all that code enforcement won't mean squat.
No.
More important things going on. Codes, any kind of things like that.
Old, I will do research.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. But I just wouldn't want to see us thinking about it, and darn it happened, and now everybody's out of water. 115,000 gallons go a long way. It goes a long time.
50 years ago, did you think you'd be walking around with these?
Yeah,
Maybe 10, 20 years ago. 20 years ago. Well, thanks for your input.
As I come up with different solutions and things, I'll communicate those with you. Absolutely.
All right, thanks for coming.
Commissioner, we tried to do a lot, and I can appreciate that and stuff that you've done.
Well, if we want to hear from people and ideas, if you got something different, we'll listen. I mean, we don't, we search for answers too, we're just here, we're not out there, so vice versa. And so we'd love to hear that, at least I do, hear the input.
Thank you, everybody.
You bet.
You
Stay
bet.
warm tonight.
And I
Good.
didn't get your name.
It's Chris.
Chris, I know you.
Well, I am Manny Kinzel's niece, and my mom lived in that house, and my grandparents lived in that house across from the church. And when Manny went into the nursing home, he said, "You want my house?" And I was living over in the Seattle area. I said, "Sure."
Let me out of here. I've been here 10 years, but I spent 30 years, Snohomish County.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Working in Metro Transit.
Well, I was an employee of the state for a long, long
Same
time.
difference.
Yep.
Yep, same retirement system. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I was gonna say. We'll put you to work if you sit at that desk.
No, never that.
Have a good night.
You too.
Okay, where are we?
Okay. In the interest of time, let's see if we can diligently blast through these.
We have, is the next one minutes?
Minutes.
Move to approve.
Second?
What are you doing?
The minutes.
Oh, minutes. I thought you said mix.
Well,
The 24th, yes.
I briefly looked through them. I didn't see anything,
Yeah, they were fine to me.
yeah.
Janice?
Janice, is she still there?
Yep.
Yep, I'm here.
Okay.
Sorry.
Do you have anything for, the minutes are open for discussion? Any review, any comments?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Okay. Motions on the table to approve the minutes. We have a
Go.
second's been done, so.
Or did you do?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve, thank you.
Aye.
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 Okay,
4-0.
400. Approved. Next, we have the check register. It's just an observation, the check register from January 24th.
No, yeah, go ahead.
Any questions?
It just, okay, no, I don't.
No, I don't either.
Except, doing it this way, a lot of them look, well, they are redundant.
They are redundant, yeah.
I've seen this before, where we get charged
Right.
again. Okay. I don't think think anything really stands out. We do know that the power, everybody's feeling the pinch on the gas and electric,
And
and it's gonna go more.
You mean that Avista bill that's there?
Yeah, they're gonna,
I think, well, yeah, there's additions to the agenda is not something that we've called for, but we have a couple of items when it comes to a Vista bill we can talk about later. I think there's some ways we can be reducing that.
other than that, Mr. Mayor, I don't have any questions or concerns.
Okay. Next item is to approve the January 31 payroll.
So moved.
Second,
The first and a second, any discussion?
Just a quick question. So is that representing Cynthia's time to December 31st, or was there time that went beyond? Okay. I'm good.
That's good, actually. Captain Ritter.
what'd you say?
I'm sorry, Janice, one more time?
No, you're good. Sorry.
Okay. If no further discussion, motion to approve the payroll.
Aye.
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 Okay.
Sorry.
400.
400 to approve.
You were calling for a vote, not a
Oh,
motion to.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I'm not trying to nitpick.
No,
That's
I'm-
why I was hesitating. 'Cause it's making sure. Sorry.
I'm rushing this, I'm sorry.
Well, you did just fine. I knew, we know what you,
Okay, next item of housekeeping, approve the new claims for February 14th.
I have a question.
We need a
Before we-
motion to discuss, do we? Yeah.
Well, it's just a question. On the porta potty for BNSF,
I'll be happy to address that once we have a motion to.
So moved.
second.
Thank you.
so you want a motion to just answer a question?
You have to have a procedure before that, then it opens
Okay.
it up for discussion.
Technically, Robert's
Okay.
rules, you can't have discussion before.
Anyway, It's the same, you're fine, go ahead, ask your question.
So, yes, when the water line that was leaking up at,
City
in the
Hall Hill.
vicinity of the gazebo at the corner up there, when that line started leaking, the decision was made last year to turn it off. And it turned off two key things. One was the water to irrigate the park there, and basically the building that belongs to BNSF up there to flush their toilet, which is metered and everything, but they lost their water. And apparently there was an arrangement made to supply them with a porta potty while we got our water lines repaired.
It's not a porta potty money.
It was more months than I knew.
So I was going to ask
What
a
about 4
similar
months?
question. We have a contract with Mogul Tech to do this?
Not to my knowledge.
Did they, okay, what you're, I mean, or the railroad did this and then charging us for it?
My understanding is that it was approved.
Okay, well,
This was something that was known was going to happen.
Well, yeah, so I remember it coming up. I don't know for sure if I remember it being brought up in a meeting or whether Jess had just told me directly, but I remember it being brought up that was a part of our trade of we won't go to the expense of having to fix the water just for one toilet, and instead we'll do this for a while. I don't know if I ever heard an end date of, are we going to do that in perpetuity, that we'll just forever pay for a porta potty so that we don't have to fix the line?
well,
Oh,
I think we did it because.
It's over.
Oh, they did?
Excuse me, it interfered
Hasn't hurt
with,
as bad.
repairing that line would have interfered with harvest and truck
That's
traffic and
right.
everything.
Yes, they
So-
didn't want to tear up the road because that was the only way to get to the grain scales there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So it was a logistical issue that come up, and as soon as that tapered off, fall seeding and all that, then, and it turned out it wasn't that extensive as they originally thought, which everything worked out fine that way, but,
I was just wanting to make sure it wasn't a contract, because contracts have a different set of requirements in terms of how we pay.
I
So-
don't believe it was a contract, and I believe that is the sum total of the entire, that's the beginning and the end of that.
Okay, I'm good.
so far, right?
So the porta potty's been returned?
Yes.
Good to go.
Missed your opportunity to use a porta potty here in the city of
No,
Harrington?
I was just thinking that, you know, with the two different buildings, I don't know if the building still works up there with the grain, by the grain elevators, or the one that's down below. They may have had bathrooms that could have been used. Like, when we had problems with water, we went out and we had to make arrangements for it, and nobody rented a porta potty for us, so to speak. But I get where you're coming from. I'm not gonna argue with it. That's
Well,
it.
we're dealing with the railroad.
The railroad. So,
No. My only question is, I mean.
No,
you-
I'm done.
Okay.
I'm done.
Is DW excavating that one a fudge over from what we kind of figured? Was there some change orders into that a little bit?
Okay.
Which was totally anticipated, really, when you get into any construction.
Okay. So, yes, there were, thank you. There's two pieces to that. At the time, it had to be done. We couldn't wait any longer.
Right?
It was right after it snowed. The ground was incredibly wet. As they dug, the sides of the bank that they were digging into kept on collapsing. And apparently the quality of the dirt, because it was so saturated, was unusable. So there was an additional charge because they had to haul that sludge, if you will, away.
Yeah.
And then go down, and we didn't have to pay for any more fill because they got it out of our stock.
Okay.
That was one thing. There was an opportunity, because that was going on, because the way the water line that was existing was put in,
Bedded.
it was bedded, and it was their initial plan, they couldn't see what was down there. So the initial plan was they were going to put the new water line in and then make all the hookups. And then in one day, the new water line would all be clean, sanitized, ready to go. And one day they'd make the switch over, boom, done. Well, apparently the hole or the channel that they carved 80 years ago in the granite, or in the basalt, was too narrow to,
Yeah, that's what it was.
and they also determined that the line was so frail that if they took any of the pressures from the sides of it, it would probably shift out and blow. So the rock was literally holding it in its place. So what they did was they brought in and hooked to the hydraulic, or the fire hydrant.
Mm-hmm.
They brought in a line, and off of that line, they backfed to the 4 houses that were down there through a garden hose, through a water bib, so that the houses didn't lose water. So that was an added expense, was buying that temporary water supply system. And when it was done, we are now the proud owners of said water system, or water supply system.
Which, in fact, we probably might be using.
I have every intention of packaging that up in a nice crate and have it ready to use the next time, because this is not the first water main that we're going to be replacing.
Right. Did we have any, not archive, but did we have any documentary photos, pictures of what was going on, so we can add to our library and our maps, like?
I took some photos. There's other photos taken.
Right.
While DW was there, they also mapped out anything that they ran across that was crossing so that we will know where the gas lines are, where other service lines are on that street.
Did they happen to run across gas lines?
I believe they ran across a gas line.
Okay.
So, and the initial goal was to try and save as many of those clamps, of those
Band-Aids?
Band-Aids as we could.
No go?
They were,
Yeah, shot.
they were shot. So,
A lot of them are just a one-time, well, hence Band-Aid.
Action.
Yeah.
The motion to approve the new claims past 5-0-0.
But people think that that's just, we're not here. This is
The
just
look on her
pre-recorded.
face was just,
Sunshine disposal amended to be implemented with rates. Discussion.
Please stand by, technical difficulties.
Plan and construction expansion. Action.
Gotta save that to public comment.
I got a hammer.
did you see the look on her face? It was just. There's no off on it.
Flush it in the toilet.
Anyway,
No, that, you do run into these kind of things, so that's, I just wanted to make note, is it a biggie? Not to me, I don't, you know, you can generally figure, and it's quite common in the construction, you know, they'll quote you, there's change orders, and you can pretty much count on going 10, 15, up to 30% over.
Yeah.
You know, because they don't know either, you know, but you get it open like that, what are you gonna do? Well, we don't want it no more, you can't do that, you have to fix it.
Well, and that was a complete audible. It was,
Yeah.
and quite honestly, even when they started opening up on the eastern side, the leak was down at the western side. Even as they opened it up and the mud's flowing in and they're figuring out what they're working with, I'm looking at fresh water flowing out of what they had just uncovered.
Yeah.
I mean, it was only a matter of time, but we were going to fix that, and then we were going to have a blowout on the other
Oh.
end. So,
I'm glad you just refreshed my memory, or my mind on that one. And just, well, let's talk about that after this. I'll bring that up.
okay,
So there's a motion to accept,
to approve,
yeah,
and
motion
a second.
and can we have a vote to approve?
Signify by saying aye.
Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Not with it.
Aye.
Thank you, Janice.
4-0-0. And on that note, well, it's still fresh in our minds, and I want to, we can't do anything about it tonight, I mean, physically is what I'm referring to, is just be aware, I think in the paper or someplace in the news recently, a garbage truck sunk into one. Do you happen to see, anybody remember that? Yes, and one of my concerns this winter when I saw the leak up by the school, which is on First Street, I believe, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I know down there at Lake Willis, which is dried up now, that we could face that same challenge.
Just looking at that picture.
Yeah. So,
Wasn't that one of those, what do you call them?
Sinkhole.
Sinkhole.
well, they said it's not really a sinkhole. Classification is a sinkhole, but what it was, and I can't remember, and I do apologize to everyone, but it was, it had augured it out or washed it out underneath from the leaks and stuff. And that can happen, anytime you have a leaky pipe, sewer, or anything hydraulic, it can do that. And you just drive along, but evidently they have some infrastructure issues, and it done that, and it looked good, but then a little weight to it, down it went. So, no, it wasn't, they said, this is not a sinkhole, but it's classified as something else. But I think that is something we need to prepare ourselves for, especially in front of the school and down
So
there.
the water link in front of the school thankfully turned out, it's all gone. I mean, the biggest thing that we're going to have coming up is patching holes in the asphalt. But that was a service line. That was not a main.
The holes in the asphalt and any new ones, that's strong indicators that the subgrade or the surface below is deteriorated.
I will say this, and, you know, I saw Gavin's email about water meters, and we are moving on this, so we don't need to hammer a lot on this, but if we were reading meters, there might be more indications, because just because the leak was on the surface line side of it, doesn't mean it can't cause damage to our roads.
True.
And one of the ways that we'll find out about that is no one,
Usage.
no, if the water meter's running real high, at least someone's gonna come in here and yell at us and say, what do you think is going on? You know, we can start investigating, but if we're not reading meters, we don't even know, the citizen has no reason to care what their water meter says, and as long as that leak isn't in their house or visible, you know, in their property, they'll never.
It goes on.
So
Discovered.
what the indication on that one should have been is this was
No.
before the meter, and they probably did not have any water in their house. That should have been the first phone call.
Yeah.
But I think there's a little bit, the circumstances around that are
Yeah.
such that, but anyway, that's all.
But to your
Right.
credit, just this week, it's on my mayor's comments, but I'll just tell you now, there was a leak that came up just going into last weekend on Lincoln,
Okay.
top of the hill, between 4th and 5th. And they held on to it. They said, we don't know if this is a thing. It's been raining. We don't know if this is just, I went up there over the weekend, and sure enough, it was flowing. So yesterday, or this morning, anyway, they jumped right on it. They got down to it, 4-inch water main leaking. It's patched, banded, covered. So we're trying hard to get to those ASAP.
Right. Well, it's those two, and we do want the citizens, if they see anything, I think we had one last fall or late fall. We had a serious leak, and for some time, and a citizen pointed it out, so we do appreciate that. And, so, I guess my question is, if people see something, definitely say something.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not just for Homeland Security.
Right.
Okay. Next agenda item, the sunshine disposal amendment. Did you guys get a chance to review that? I did not send it, I don't think, with the current packet. I think I sent it a week or so ago. Okay, we've got a motion to adopt the
I'll
amendment.
second it, so for discussion.
Any discussion? I can open up by kind of maybe filling in a couple of blanks. This represents basically everything that the city attorney brought up that he had issues with, and address those. There was one item that he didn't, that had to do with the original contract that we were amending, said that if we didn't like each other and we put in a notice of termination, that termination wouldn't go into effect until the end of the year. And he brought up, he said, we're rewriting this whole, to bring it, the whole thing current and more valid for 2025 anyway, so let's, and if you think about it, even if on May 1st we had an issue with it, and we posted our 90 days, by then we're practically done with the end of the year anyway, so it's like, that's not worth a battle to make an issue out of.
Okay, and this was for sunshine, I think.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't want to open. Is there any key bullet points in there that stand out? Because I have not, I don't see it.
It's,
Is there-
it's the stuff we don't want to see, but it's standard and we've been dealing with it, whatever the fuel costs are at as of October 1st, that's what they're going to set their next term, the next year, based off of. They do go into the customer billing, how they're going to do it. Admittedly, it's going to be starting April 1st, not March 1st.
So that basically, this is a contract between the citizens and sunshine.
Well, yeah,
I mean,
the
because we don't
city
have
and,
a say.
well, we do. What's the misnomer is we still have to approve the rates. Now, they're going to charge us what they're going to charge us. So
Right.
if we don't approve their rates, the city's on the hook for the differential.
we have very little leverage to do anything.
But I mean, in the grand scheme of things,
Yeah.
it's,
Yeah.
I
But
get
at
it,
least, at least it gives the parameters in here of what they can change and adjust their rates based off of. It's not just an arbitrary, the CEO needs a new yacht, so we're gonna bump the rates up.
Well, one of the things that stands out with me in a couple of these contracts, and we ran into it with the lawn care, and it seems to be industry-wide a little bit, is, from my perspective, and I look at this maybe a little differently, it seems anytime the fuel goes up, they just raise the rates. I mean, everybody, and that's kind of what, we're feeling the pinch in the stores, and everywhere across the board. But there has to be a breaking point that at some time you have a contract, that's why you have a contract, so you're locked in at a certain price.
Well, I think what it will probably shake down to is that the only leverage that we're gonna have is the leverage of doing something else. And while they're the cheapest game in town, the only way we will have leverage is if we consider doing it ourselves.
Right.
And I don't know if you can buy a truck as expensive as that and then have it sit 6 days a week. But my point is that we should have the discussion, we should get our pencils out, I think maybe later in the year, because we should talk about lawn care. Like, the problem, I think, with the lawn care situation before, we were really up against the wall, we did not have a time to approach it right. I think
Right.
the next time these contracts come up, we should really have our numbers solid on, does it make sense to do garbage ourselves, does it make sense to do lawn ourselves? Because I'm doubting that at the end of the day, if we don't like what Sunshine gives us, either we're gonna be depending on another company to give us a better deal, which thus far has been a losing proposition, or we're gonna have to make a better deal for ourselves. Otherwise, we're just gonna have to say yes to whatever they tell
Well,
us.
I agree, but I'm under the old school that the contract, the four corners, and it seems like they build in automatic increases into it. Where years ago, to some degree, and these aren't long, a year, 3 year, and I think some of those, for them to say every year we get cost of living, and, we get fuel, and as erratic and wild as the fuel industry is now, there's other people here, fuel goes up, you have to absorb it, so that's my whole point, is that the contract within itself, you negotiate, okay, a maximum of this, you put limits on it, so.
The horrible and wrong thing of this is I think in this current economy and what I know of what I see every day, fuel is probably one of the most stable commodities in an operating expense.
Right,
I mean,
but it's one of the biggest excuses.
It's going to swing 25%, but at least it's known. I will tell you, my insurance clients, especially the ones that are heavily into vehicles and transportation, are seeing 30 and 40% rate increases.
Yeah.
And those are approved by the insurance commissioner. They're not just randomly done. They have to validate why they want to take this rate increase and get it done.
Yep.
So there's a lot more economic vulnerabilities out there than just the fuel. Staffing can sometimes be a huge expense. I'm just saying that
It's a pickle.
it's a challenge, and we're not asking them to do it for free. We're just asking them not to do it and balance their checkbook on the city of Harrington.
Right.
So,
Well, that's my 2 cents.
okay.
No, but, it's,
Shane.
no, it's just, you kind of negotiate. They want a raise, but you can give them a raise, but you put limits on it, and how many times they can do it within that contract.
Well, when you were talking to, it's like, okay, they raise it, next person, they raise it, and it's the little guy that always takes it in the shorts.
Yeah. Yep.
Yep.
So, other than that, there's nothing else that we should be, no gotchas in there and all that. And to me, actually, this whole ordeal with this method that we're shifting over to, I think is not really experimental, but kind of a trial, I would call it. You know, because
Well,
as to Mr. Hardy's, Stevens, 'cause, you know, do we do it ourselves? We do this. I know there was a 2007 nice garbage truck Booker auction last December for $38,000. So, well, you know,
yeah,
that was for your-
it makes you start exploring the options.
yeah.
So.
So, okay. That's all I have to say. Sorry for interrupting there.
No, 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 that's what it's for. So we have a motion to approve the amendment. All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays?
So we have three.
Janice, do we have you?
Yep, sorry.
Okay, that's
I
a,
was running back to my phone.
no, I hear. Feel for you. We're voting on whether to approve the Sunshine Amendment. We're currently on the, all those that approve. And now we're on, I'm sorry?
No, go ahead, finish.
I was going to say, any disapprove, any nays?
No.
Okay. Do you approve, Janice?
Yeah.
Okay.
Approve, sorry.
That's okay. We're just trying to
So
make
we
sure
have
we get the
four
count
ayes.
clear.
No names.
Okay. No nays. Okay. Okay, thank you for that, guys. The next topic is the wastewater treatment plant extension. I got to thinking this probably doesn't necessarily need a vote. Maybe our parliamentarian would tell me different, but we're not changing the contract or the cost or anything like that. We're changing the time. So I guess that is a change of the contract, but we're not increasing the costs at all. I have gone over this with the engineer, challenged him on a couple of things. I just want to make sure that we're all in agreement that this is something we need to go ahead and sign the extension. It won't be done this year. It will be done by on the new timeline. It will be done by the end of 2025.
2025, okay.
Yeah.
My only question to you, Mr. Mayor, is, are you satisfied with the information and reason and all the dynamics associated with this? The reason behind it?
I will say I am satisfied. I'm not entirely thrilled, but hearing the explanations and understanding that government and government process does not work at the same speed that I'm used to, it's, I think, quite reasonable, and I think with the scope of work that has to be done, it's reasonable to think that it's going to be done. Just, we will keep things, I will not hesitate to question if there is a delay, why there's a delay. I'm going to continue to work hard, keeping them on point and on task.
Sounds good. I know you were on top of it.
So,
You were kind of getting the runaround, and the city was a little bit, so.
finally had a hard conversation and got some questions answered, and I think what helped me most was getting a clear understanding of how we got here and what the timeline was moving forward. So, if everything goes to plan, the plan for everything that he's talked about is at Ecology right now to be approved. So there is forward motion. So it's in Ecology's hands. Once it's approved, it's going to go pretty quick. It's reviewing the bids, getting them approved, awarding the bid, and then there'll be work done, should be this summer.
Okay.
So there's just a bunch more steps that he's having to jump through he was hoping to clean up the site as they were doing the construction, And Ecology said no. So effectively, the site has to be cleaned up and prepared for the construction, and then they can do the construction.
Specified time prior to
Yeah.
any
Yeah.
breaking news.
So,
Motion to authorize the mayor to sign this.
I'll second it.
okay, we have a motion to approve the extension. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays?
Aye.
Thank you.
4-0.
Any nays? Okay. Okay. Since I wrote this agenda, there have been so many changes and things moving so fast as I've been talking to people. So I would like to table the wastewater system and, or the water system and wastewater treatment plant proposal at this point.
Is that the SJ?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. So, I want to put that on the table. The franchise agreement, I'm just going to give you an update. It is not ready to be voted on. The city attorney felt that it was nothing more, I shouldn't say nothing more. It was not much more than simply taking the ordinance that was done 10 years ago and making a couple of changes it and bring it, and he said, there were a number of reasons that we should not be perpetuating some old concerns into the future. And what was nice is he offered the City of Spokane Valley's agreement with Avista, which he said is well-written, it's already done, it's just a matter of adjusting it for us, and we should be able to plagiarize it and move it forward. So I put that back into Avista's ballpark to, hey, here's the plan, here's an idea.
What was, I guess, Mr. Mayor, what, in a brief, I'm not familiar with what all this franchise, that agreement was.
So it's
encompassing.
basically their permission to use our right-of-ways to put Avista power lines.
Okay.
So, to put it bluntly, are we going to say no? Probably not. But if we're moving forward, we might as well clean up some of the language that was of a concern in there.
Did they
I've not gotten a
indicate?
response from them yet.
I mean, we don't know if they indicated that they're going to be, several years ago, they updated everything. 5 years ago now?
Yeah.
Six maybe. They updated a lot, I shouldn't say everything, but I know down in my neck of the woods, they considerably, they raised the lines up off, installed better poles, installed street lights, luminaires,
Okay.
newer ones. So I just wondered if they were planning on doing any more big upgrades to the city
So,
that we knew of.
I will confess, because I knew it was going to the attorney, I didn't go through it and look for specifics.
Okay.
Because I wanted his first look at it first. One thing that it was brought up to my attention that we are not doing, and I'm going to put this out in front of you to test the waters, but we apparently like the garbage bill that we can add a couple of % to pass through. There are many municipalities that do that, and she pointed out that it could be up to 8% without the vote of the people.
On the Vista bill?
Yes.
How in the world did they manage that one?
I don't know. Now, my personal inclination is, I don't even want to go down this path, but that is the information that I am passing on to you, that it wasn't even suggested, it was disclosed that that can be legally done. Now-
On top of all their raises?
Yes,
this year,
and
last year, this year, next year?
Yeah, somebody
Increase.
has recently, and I didn't read it, but they said that they are changing their base rate
Yeah.
significantly.
They have filed to double their base rate.
It has not been approved
It
yet,
hasn't
though.
been approved, and I think from what I've seen historically, they
Approved.
make ambitious, they make ambitious asks, and then the commission over at WEPIA goes tisk tisk and makes them walk it back a little bit. They don't get usually exactly what they ask for, but if they ask for double, they'll get probably at least half of it.
They'll get what they really want.
Yeah, and I don't know. I acknowledge that Avista seems to have invested in putting better poles here, and that I can only assume that they've been amiable in allowing access to the poles for the fiber stuff. So it's not that Harrington hasn't got some benefit out of things, but if you're going to double or try to double your base rate in 2 years, I'm a little bit more curious of why should we give you this franchise?
Well,
I'm sorry, but
Well, I
it's
just,
an
well-
audacious. It's an audacious raise.
right.
it is.
Unconscionable.
Ludicrous.
The flip side of that is, it's not like we have inland power knocking on our door to supply power to the city of Harrington, even if they could. I don't know. This is an area which is completely foreign to me.
We're in the middle of a week.
I would be curious to make a call, and I'd be willing to make the call, but I'm not trying to volunteer you. But I'd be curious to know if inland would even consider such a thing.
If I had not even thought of that. So,
Well, it's one of the things, like, because it's a government-backed monopoly, right? I mean, everyone has to pay Avista's rates, and the one tool we might have over that is what kind of power we give Avista, right? And so when we say we're going to raise your garbage rates, at least we can say to the people who are sitting in the chairs, we're raising your garbage rates after we went and contacted all these other companies, and we did our due diligence to make sure this was our last result. I think it'd be kind of a shame if we had alternatives that we never even looked into, and then we signed it away for another 25 years, signed future councils up for 25 years, and then they go ask us, well, did you even ask inland? And we go, no, we just kind of assumed that was all that we could do. I'm not comfortable with that.
logistically, I don't know what we can do, but if you want to check, that's fine. I would love.
I'm guessing they'd probably play nicely with each other's monopolies and try not to get too. I'm guessing they'll be like, no, we're not interested. But at least we can say we asked the question, and this is what it is.
The other thing I will bring up is that in 2019 or 18, the council here did sign a 25-year franchise with the gas, for the gas lines. And I asked her, I said, does that mean you guys are guaranteeing that you're bringing gas into Harrington for the next, until 2044? She goes, yes, that's what that guarantee is. So with all the pressure on, all the pressure on natural gas and stopping using it, at least we know that that's.
Thank goodness, because that's what happened.
A lot of people do. It's, anyway.
Does the council
Okay.
have any objections if I made a polite call to them and just?
Not at all.
No. The mayor has no objection.
Janice, you good with that?
I don't have any objections, I just don't think you're gonna get real far with it.
And I don't either. It's more just that, I guess, the feeling of sleeping better knowing that we did what we could do. I'm pretty sure they'll
Understood.
shut me down real quick.
Okay. Moving on. Library furniture items. This is potentially an action item. I left it on the agenda because I think we need to come up with a plan on how to get together at a minimum to identify what is the libraries, what is the cities, and so we can start getting some of this stuff cleaned up.
So, okay, I have this on, you emailed it out, and Alicia brought it to our attention. Now, this is stuff that we want to get rid of or surplus, or is it stuff that they just bought?
No, this is all the stuff that was there that was either libraries or cities. She
Mhm.
didn't differentiate between the two. but she just took pictures and described everything that was in there, with the exception of the bookshelves.
I spoke with her a little bit on this, and so if I may give a little context.
Sure.
They don't, to my understanding, they don't want to get rid of everything on this list. Some of these things, they may wish to get rid of. But I think they're more about wanting to establish, is it the library board who would declare it surplus or de minimis? Or is it us? It's which entity has control over these things? Like, for an example, the microfilm viewer thing, that would be something I would say, yeah, that's the library boards. They are a government sanctioned entity. There is RCWs that talk about their authority. They still are accountable to making sure that they get rid of it in the right way. It's more just a question of is that microfiche, and I'm just using that as an example, and you can see the list of everything there. Is that something that the city should be worried about, or the library board? And I personally, I guess, to throw it into discussion, and we can vote this up or down or table it, but I will move that we declare all the items on this list to be the property of the library boards, for them to keep, surplus, or declare the use.
Okay. To your point, you would prefer, or you propose that the library board either be responsible or the council?
They would just be responsible.
Well, two things. Do we miss anything in there right now? There's some things I believe that should be, like the microfiche thing. I mean, do we have any of that film laying around? I wouldn't get rid of that, because I don't know any other way to extract that or view it, if need be, for archived info. But I'd say that the library board should be we kind of pushed, I think our goal was that take care of it. We don't, you run it how you see fit. They would come up with a budget, here, approve it, whatever, they deal with it.
And where would the money go? Go to the library then?
For what
If
was
they're
sold?
selling it.
Yeah, that would help us out. I mean, really, in the grand scheme of things, city library, it's the same darn thing, in my eyes.
It's
Well,
just,
and
it's at
that's
their
why-
discretion
Yeah.
instead of the
This is
city's.
establishing which body would vote on these things if they were going to put them on a surplus list.
I mean, they could run it by, I'd say that they're in charge of it, but keep us informed, because we might say, oh, you can't do that, or we don't want you to do that,
Well, specific to this list.
yes.
And we could amend it to take things off of it to say that's an item that we're specifically not comfortable with putting in the hands of the library board. Like that old Magnavox monitor and Toshiba DVD player. They can do whatever they want with that. I mean, I think even if we cut half the items off this list, it frees them to work with the other half and either get rid of junk or do what they want with it, and they can have,
Well,
feel like
there's-
they have the item.
They have got a radar gun. It's not labeled correctly, but they've got the radar gun back from when we had a constable in the city. And, and for the record, I already called the sheriff's office and asked if they wanted it back, and they said no.
Chris wants that for her house, right?
Yeah.
So, well, that would belong to the city.
Yeah, it belongs to, yeah, but
I mean, you could stand out there with it and wear a cop hat and a Smokey Bear hat and a mirrored sunglasses, and it might work. You won't have to use your hairdryer.
Is your grandfather too young?
Mm.
Oh, okay, so it wasn't, you're not of the Armstrong.
But, but still, I would, hell, if nothing else, put it in the darn museum. Someday it'll be like Rotary Cones, people want to look at it in their generations. No, I agree. I would say let the library board fight it out. I'm just maybe speaking out of turn here, but is there City Hall, do we miss anything? Oh, boy, we need that controller, or with that chair? I mean, I don't think so. I mean, we're kind of separated.
The only thing that I have on my agenda, and if they had something over there that would work, it's to replace
That thing.
that thing.
But
I haven't,
that's not on this.
I noticed.
To David's point, maybe we should take the microphone viewer off there, because it's feasible that the city could have things we want to do with that, but I can say for the electronics that are on this list,
Oh, they were outdated the day they got them.
yeah, I would have no designs on any of that.
Both tables probably should be discarded because if they were not meeting or kitty hour or whatever, you know.
Is anything here to go to the city shop office?
I think the city shop has some pretty decent, solid desks, and they just need a writing surface and they've already got a file cabinet over there. So,
No chairs or anything? to
No,
the
yeah,
hall or
they're-
anything like that? Yeah, the copy, what is that?
we could bring the teal colored plastic
Oh,
chairs over here and replace them with, for the council to sit on.
Well, actually, they're more comfortable than these chairs.
yeah, these are bad. I'm already feeling that I should have grabbed the chair. Yeah. I didn't start the shifting.
I do periodically look for replacements for these, but that's a whole different topic. So,
Right. Well,
so if I don't know where, I think we got a motion, but I don't necessarily know it got seconded on this. Okay.
And I'll amend it to remove the microphone.
I would, just because
Yeah.
if you get rid of it and you need it, where the heck are you going to find one?
And I don't think they're gonna get rid of everything on this list right away, but I would agree that there could be some city tendencies that we might want to look into that.
I don't see anybody who could calm down to the doorway.
So motion second.
Any further discussion?
I just want to clear that these pictures here that were sent, these are just an inventory, or these ones that they want to get rid of?
I think they're just questioning, are they theirs or her? What I suspect, what I'm reading into this is they have designs and plans to move things, get things done,
Right.
and if they can use it, they will. If they can't, are we going to get it out of their way, or are they going to get out of their way?
They should, I mean, this paper cutter, those are always handy. You know,
I'm nervous about having that paper. That paper cutter sat right out there in front of God and everybody for kids to play with.
You're thinking fingernails?
Fingers. Yeah.
Yeah, I know, but, we're not gonna put it in the playground.
That's a good horror movie prop, is what that is.
But I mean, I occasionally run into that, but that's neither here nor there. I do, yes, I favor letting them decide, because it's their nest right now, and we'll leave it at that.
Okay.
So,
Any further discussion? So we have a motion on the floor to have the library take control of all the items that they indicated, minus the microfiche machine. All in favor, say aye.
I
Aye.
would say, Stephen, on this, the copier here, but it has 10 cents per page, it's gonna have to go. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, I have council committee updates is the last, or one of the last things here. Did everyone get Gavin's email? What he had to talk about the water meters?
I got it, but I had not read it yet.
Okay. There's some decent information in there, I felt. Some good research done. Opens the doors. Janice, did you have anything that you wanted to review as far as a update from a committee point of view?
Not at this time, no.
Okay. We do have some copies of the current budget for you, Janice, to start looking over.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're still at the restaurant?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll drop it by my way out.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
I would like to have, city handbook. Of course, we may not have it, but ordinances and policies and so on, because that was the committee I was supposed to do.
Okay.
Employee handbook.
Yes.
Employee
And
handbook.
that's, I personally copied this off my own copier.
Okay.
It is on your computer, your tablet.
Do you want a paper copy?
Yes.
Okay.
There's 63 pages, single-sided. And I did look through this and kind of refresh my mind, and I know there's a couple things that stood out, and if I can get to them here, that I would like to see in addressing. I'm still a big fan with the sort of time sheets, and I know, that we maybe this isn't the place to discuss it, but until I get a chance to maybe talk with the fellow there. But yeah, there's something to do with the time sheets.
That they turn them in daily?
Time sheet versus time clock, that type of stuff for many different reasons going forward. Mainly it's a accurate, no lie, not to say anybody's doing anything, but it's a record, a timestamp that you can't fudge or, you can adjust it, the manager, the boss, or whatever, and adjust it, but it's there, and
We bought it.
We have it.
But
It's in
Was
the,
it not?
It's
It
in the-
wasn't everything was open, right?
that, I don't know. I know nothing about it. It's in the back room here. It's in the vault. I think the owner's manual is close by it. My,
yeah, he picked it up
my
and Denise
only,
fixed it.
now that I am looking at said timesheets, the only, I like the idea of a stamp in, stamp out kind of thing, but their time is broken up from a budgetary point of view,
You
which they
still
keep
have to
track
do
of.
that,
Yeah.
And that, I'll just example, the state. Now, they may have changed it, somebody that's listening worked for the state like short time. At the end of the day, they wrote down, the only thing I did was follow. So, but at the end of the day, they had to write down what they did, as far as what sand pile, how many yards they used out of that, either plowing or waxing a truck or whatever. And that's kind of what they said that they did, throughout the whole year. And I kind of think, you would still have to do that. Since you do have to categorize what they did, but from a standpoint of the pay to the employee, that time cards, I think, are beneficial within our internal bookkeeping and logistics. Yes, you would still have to do.
Yeah, I'm just saying, be
Right,
aware
I get
that it has to be, we can have them stamp in and out, but I think the last thing we want to do is have them be up on Lincoln Street, finish a job, and then have to run down to the shop,
Oh, no, no.
stamp out, stamp back in, and then go deal with something up at the cemetery.
Well, it just makes, they're here, and some businesses make it clock in and out for lunch. I don't think that would be necessary, but they're here for whatever, and then anything, when they quit, they punch out. There's your time frame, 8 hours or is it 12 hours, okay? Their sheet still says,
Yeah.
well, where were you? Okay, we were at the cemetery, or we were down at Sula, or we were chasing dogs, or whatever happened,
Yeah.
So I mean, that's something, that's
yeah.
that's a work in progress.
Okay.
So I have, there's only 1, 2, 3, about 4 things that I see that we need to maybe tidy up or make suggestions on. Other than that, I think we did a pretty good job with it.
We brought it a long way.
Yes, and so I don't think there's a whole lot in that. Like I said, after Polly gets a chance to look at it, we compare notes and see what we want to, present to you guys from there. So I know it's a little more you probably want to hear an explanation.
No, that's fine. No, I appreciate the work on getting into these things, so.
Mr. Mayor, before we get into mayor comments,
Briefly, yeah.
unless I've missed something, we have not voted on pro tem. Correct?
That is correct. I had indicated that was going to be on the agenda, and I
Yeah,
missed
but
putting
this-
it on there.
I make a motion that Councilmember Budrius be our mayor pro tem.
I second
Okay, any motions on the floor to appoint, is the term, David as mayor pro tem? Any discussion?
Or no?
All in favor of naming David Budrius as mayor pro tem for the duration of, oh, we didn't really say duration of. do we-
For the duration of this.
term.
I guess
It's to-
that is up to you. You want to take it for the full 4 years?
Is it a year or 2 years?
If I remember the way I read it, it was pretty much done every year is what I
Yeah.
did read.
I think it's a year.
We've had so many mayor changes on the year. Yeah, okay.
Make it a year.
For 2024.
Yep.
Okay, amended for 2024. Mayor pro tem for 2024. All in favor, say aye.
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 I'll abstain.
Okay, 0-0. Thank you, David. Thank you, council. Thank you, everybody. Mayor's notes. I talked about the meeting with the Vista kind of throughout the evening, so I'm not going to beat up on that. Couple of things I'd like you guys to kind of put in your back of your head and start thinking through is we have leases with the McGregor Building and this location that are coming up. I did speak with Trevor Johnson about how much time, and he is committed to staying. He would really rather not move. It would be, quite honestly, I didn't know this, but there are all kinds of state regulations that they have to go through to be able to move an operation like theirs. So having to move was not in his best interest. So he would like us to consider as long a lease as we feel comfortable with.
Currently, we just have a year-to-year.
We went year to year.
What was our original lease? Was it 3 years, 2 years?
Two with the 2-year
Automatic.
extension, 1-year extension, or a 1-term extension, and 1 2-year term extension.
Yeah.
So.
You understand the range, to deal with this one, but it might be good to know, what is the minimum that he feels like he needs, like, in order to, because, right, if he got a certain length, he'd be able to get different cars in there. Is there a certain, once he gets
So-
past a 2-year or a 3-year, because he'll take as long as we'll give him, but what's the shortest?
So when he got certified last time, he was working on a 2-year term, and on the basis of that, they continued it. Had they had to recertify him this year on a 1-year lease, he probably loses that certification. So
He needs at least 2, he would prefer.
he'd prefer a 5, but he knows that that's out there. So
5 years goes by pretty darn fast. I guess my question to council, is there anything offhand that foresee why we couldn't afford 5 years? I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah, no,
Saying
and,
here.
yeah. The direction that I see Public Works going currently in its current location, I think they make it work. It is working. I mean, unless we have a huge change of equipment where we need something extremely large to be able to, maybe we
Right.
get a large snowplow. Maybe we have that garbage truck that needs to go inside a shop to have a widget welded on. I don't know. That would change, but could we have, and we also have to consider that the Harrington Truck and Auto may not be here 2, 3, 4 years from now. But I think everything that I've seen and the resourcefulness and the capacity and abilities of our Public Works people, I think we make it work. Where they're at, I don't see them needing to move up to that location. We have not. That is one thing I want to ask them if we can do a walkthrough with Ken and see if that's something.
Trevor.
Yeah. Well, with Trevor and Ken King, who's our current Public Works employee, and
I'm
see,
sorry, yeah.
and see how that looks. I would also like to remind people that that property up there, sometime in the next 3 years, is going to have the gravel filter. Sand filtration is not going to be needed anymore. However, I will have to admit, I don't know if it's like taking a gas station out where you have to let the land just sit for 5 years before you touch it. I don't know.
Yeah, is it like radioactive?
So, anyway, I didn't want to get I just wanted to put the bug in your ear that those are things that we need to keep in mind.
The only question I have, or one of the questions I have, I feel the city's obligated, if we go sign this up, and I think we're all gonna, we had mentioned something about possibly a rate increase, maybe yea or nay, but what issues do we have with that building that we're legally obligated to fix, to address?
Well, we even kind of, I don't know how much we actually obligated ourselves, but we kind of told them that the last time we were going to fix something on that building, that we haven't
Done.
I don't know that we've
There's-
been the best of landlords.
No.
Well, that's what I want to address.
There was a leak in the roof that needs to be patched. I don't think it needs a new roof, it's a metal roof, for God's sakes, but it does have a leak and it needs to be patched. There are also a number of pieces of metal siding where it needs to be resecured. Just over time, nails have been pulling out, the metal's getting a little loose.
Not like we don't deal with anything.
Right.
And
So that's
regardless of whether we rent the building out or it becomes our new shop,
It's gonna need
if we don't
structural.
maintain it, it's going to get more expensive.
right. So, thank you. I'm add that to my list of items.
I mean, they haven't been in here on a consistent basis complaining about it. They've been pretty quiet, good tenants, right?
Oh, yeah.
So
And I don't think we've ever heard any complaints really from the city about the operation of the
No. The only time that we had an issue is they had water pooling up in their impound yard when it
Right.
was -8 degrees, and he had cars that had to get out, and they were literally frozen in 6 inches of water. So
obviously that needs to be sorted.
I let him use the backhoe to go up there, because at that moment we did not have Public Works, and let him use the backhoe to go up there and break up the ice suit to get his cars out. And yes, my plan is, when the weather clears up and the ground solidifies a little bit, is to go up there and backfill some that gravel up in there and make that go away. So, if you guys did not know, there is the Davenport basketball tournament that will be in Harrington. The overflow is in Harrington this coming weekend.
Okay.
So, there'll be a lot of people in town.
Get more pizzas ordered, Janice.
Oh,
We are extending our hours and I have a lot of extra stock.
I know you would.
I contacted the sheriff's office, asked them if they could supply a spare cruiser to park on Tokyo Harrington Road as just a visual deterrent, and Gabe was extremely apologetic. Apparently, they've had some mechanical issues with enough of their spares that they're in the shop and they don't have any extras.
It's okay, she has that radar gun, so.
Just get my hair dry out there.
So
No,
I-
it's gotten even worse because maybe they know that that's what's going on, that it's bad. I'm gonna make it my life's work to find out what we can do about that. If I have to go buy one of those little speed reading machines,
Well, we just put a couple roundabouts in there.
yeah, right around my house, right?
Well, and actually, one of the things I was talking about with you, Joe, regarding cruiser, is, and I was up at the cemetery for a burial, and I didn't look, should have looked. The shoulders up there are so tight that I wonder if you park the cruiser there, it wouldn't be a lot of room to park the cruiser. I'm wondering if the sheriff's office in general is willing to give us a cruiser from time to time, if we should find a piece of culvert, drop the culvert in, and then make that little approach there. It doesn't need to really go anywhere, but another place that would be our cruiser parking spot, so that it doesn't approach on the road. Because my memory could be off, but I think you might only be able to get a car like way over that line because it's going to fall right into the ditch.
Placement, are you talking, well, I see them sit different places, but do you want them in the city limits, or do you want them just outside the city limits? Are you talking?
Should be right over the hump that goes
Yeah, I think.
by the cemetery.
And I think when in years past have seen a cruiser there with someone in it,
Right.
they parked in the cemetery, but that's not like something you would leave, like in normal turnouts, you wouldn't leave a car there forever because then a person couldn't get in and out into the cemetery, right? So I'm not, it might just want to, I'm going to try and make sure to get up there in the next couple of days to see if I was parking a car there, how could I park the car? Because you don't want to do it on the side of houses, so you need to do it on the side of the cemetery, and then there's that ditch that's running runoff out that direction, so.
Maybe Joe Cooley might have a cruiser in her driveway.
Well, they're right, you know where that, Lions Club, I think the road,
And there's
put up
a-
that
there's a
sign, as you're coming into town and your services sign, like Gulf Forest Street and all that. Is there, I find it lots of, is there a spot there? I guess so.
We can look. Anyway, that's, we're exploring those options. Last thing, we did get a resignation from our young Public Works employee, Casper,
Okay.
which is no secret, but March 29th is his last day. I'm going to capitalize on that and look to hire that place to include the duties of the janitorial services that we've had in the city and the meter reading. Might as well take all those three positions and wrap them into one.
So kind of maybe a lesser skilled person?
A helper with
Somebody that's
not a $25 an hour person. no.
right, that has equipment operator and CDLs and this and that.
What's the hours?
Probably slightly better than 20. It depends on, I think I figured out that it takes about, it'd be about 16 hours a month just for meter reading. It's effectively 2 full days. I'm guesstimating about 4 to 5 hours a week doing janitorial duty, cleaning the different spaces that we have.
Can I
And then-
interrupt for just a second?
Sure.
I know that their meter reading takes more than 16 hours.
Awesome. Give me an estimate.
You're probably 24 to 32.
Okay. Okay, so realistically, 3 days.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, if not more, depending on the weather and if they're digging them out, you know, and getting rid of the water and mud and whatnot.
Okay, so effectively, being 1 week out of the month is just for meter reading.
And
Yep.
another consideration is like how many minimum two-man jobs, right? Because isn't there a few things like when you're repairing pipe and that kind of stuff? I mean, a helper is always good, but there's a few times when they're not really helping. They're essential to getting the job done.
Well, the help they're doing is essential. So yes, just about every job, especially when it comes to a water line repair, involves two people. One person has to be operating the back truck, and the other person it's a two-person job.
Or if somebody's working there, you still want somebody with eyes and ears with traffic control, all sorts of stuff.
Yeah. So anyway, I just want to let you guys know that unless there was some vicious opposition to it, I would love to find a person to fulfill all those tasks.
So you're talking about janitorial, excuse me.
No, both of them.
You're talking about like memorial and the library in this building.
And the public parks, the restrooms.
Better tell them about that.
Yeah, I didn't want to get too deep into that tonight because there's a lot more to it than just swabbing them out. They're also sweeping, I mean, they're going through the city every day. They're up at the cemetery every single day. Policing garbage and picking up branches. Apparently they're just dropping branches this time of year all over the place, so.
So, and we're gonna be going into better weather and all that, so your original question was you were looking for a part-time or a full-time?
Three-quarter time, maybe. What do they call it? A 0.6 to 0.75 PT, or what is it, PTO? Not PTO.
Right.
Well, I think
FTE.
If you're under 32, that becomes mayor's discretion. It's full-time employees that have to approve.
Okay.
Full-time, part-time. And you can work part-time hours to be full-time employee.
So,
And
there's,
librarian.
I can tell you there is enough to do in this city with the
Oh, yeah.
various things that come up to keep them, two people busy all day long.
Was our budget, that will support?
Well, we were before,
And
so.
currently, what are we paying, Casper? 17?
17, I believe.
So, I know other cities, they have they refer to them as part, spring. For this, I don't know if I mentioned the name correctly, I hope I get this right. I think they're $17, $18 an hour, part-time, individual, I think. Pretty sure. So you're on the right track, I mean, you have it there, but, it's just been our experience, nobody's gonna be jumping. You don't have a list of applicants on the doorstep at this point,
Agreed.
but still, our needs, we've had this contract out because we can't get the employees.
Well, and if we're gonna do more things ourselves,
Yes.
you know, it's gonna be hard to spin up for some of those things necessarily if we don't have trusted, trained employees that we can say, okay, yeah, we can stretch to do lawn ourselves, we can stretch to do garbage ourselves because we have people.
I was thinking, yes, you're right. Also, our big drain, our albatross, sewer, once we get, Lord help us with that one, some, on the requirements.
Hypothetically, when the new system is in place with all of its stuff and the remote monitoring capacities that it's going to have, which is why having internet in the co-location building for us to be able to drive all those things
Right.
is going to greatly reduce the amount of manpower that it needs.
Babysitting.
Yeah, so you don't have to have somebody physically go there to make sure that the water flows are at a certain level because they can just look at a graph on the map. So, anyway, that is all that I had. We had mention of some new business or some additions, which I wrote down was Avista. Okay. Okay. So So I think we're at a position where we're kind of lost.
Is there an equipment lease in there? Is there some kind of an outfit that wants something to do with equipment? Or is that one of them we service?
Talking about the SJ.
No.
Oh, it may have been the building codes. So we're just starting to get traction on that, but I'm talking with a company that a private company that Davenport uses already, that we could take back our building permit and ordinance management at the city level.
Okay.
So basically, their hired guns, the permit fees, and all the rest of it would effectively pay their cost. So, done correctly, it should have zero cost to the city. And they are going to follow state, county, and Harrington codes.
But they have the training inspectors.
Like I said, they're doing it for Davenport already. So,
That's what it was, Sky 5 is what, okay, that's.
okay, yeah.
See the state of our ordinances such that they can abide.
Like I said, I've got them talking to me. That's as much as the traction goes. I haven't hit anything from them, and they haven't run away, so.
I did want to touch on one thing. But, did I talk to you about, parking on the street? I probably didn't. I was gonna come in, but I didn't. You were overloaded probably. I didn't want to pester on the weekend. However, I talked with, Deputy Cunningham here, 3 weeks ago at least. I just mentioned something about, parking. Followed up what you had mentioned about RCWs concerning direction and all that stuff. And he didn't know, so he checked up on it and followed through with it. And then he found RCW and he says, contact the sheriff's office.
Okay.
So I just, something that had been brought up earlier.
Yeah.
Do we have a code enforcement officer?
We do not. Yeah, that's true. That's another position that we need to figure out.
I've been noticing a growing presence of vehicles and other parked on
Accumulating.
sidewalks.
Well, just so everybody to refresh.
Mailboxes, vehicles, there are things that are permanently living on sidewalks.
And alleys. I know that I ran across it, I'm gonna ask them to quote it, where it's on when you searching for something, you see all this other stuff, and then you kind of put it out of mind, so it comes up, you can't go back to it. But anyway, there is ordinances, and we have valid legislation. Parking, cleared here, concerning overnight parking. From the residences, how many vehicles, there's technically a lot of that property, not all, but right away or city. I think you're allowed, I think there's 2 vehicles per household up front. There's direction parking, diagonal versus parallel to back, as a whole, it's spelled out. So to answer your question, yes, there's people are getting a little lackadaisical, carefree with their parking and blocking alleys, stuff like that. Extending their parking privileges a little bit. And the ones that are going to complain is your garbage people and our public works, sewer and all that. I mean, there is some concerns for that. So I would just, anybody listening, fire, yes, it's a biggie, is just be a little mindful of the situation and do what you can to self-police yourselves and in the community so we don't have any of these problems, and I think we can solve it pretty much. I think people are decent enough to
Anything else?
I don't know, if we stay here long enough to come up with stuff.
Yeah. I know somebody who, well,
Well, you're in the line of fire.
yeah, I know, it's in the back of my head. Does anybody have anything to add to the very last item on our agenda?
I move to adjourn.
Thank you. We have a motion on the floor to adjourn the meeting. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Meeting's adjourned at 9:27. Thank you, Janice. Thank you, Council.